Master horse racing with daily racing forms Formulator, now free for DRF Bets members. Sign up to get the best bonus in racing with a $250 deposit match, plus a $10 free bet and free Formulator past performances. Go to drf.com/bet to play like a pro today.
Dan Illman, Mike Beer, creeping ever so closer to the 2023 Belmont Stakes with race number 11. It's the Grade 1 Manhattan. We're going 1.25 miles on the inner turf. $750,000 is the purse. Remember to get those Belmont Stakes packages at shop.drf.com. Up to 46% off the retail price. Lots of goodies with those packages. Again, it's shop.drf.com. Some good turf horses, as usual in the Manhattan. I was very impressed with the way the 8 up to the mark won the Turf Classic last time out. Yeah. You had a feeling when he won that allowance race at Gulfstream that he was going to be a good one.
Yeah, it does seem like he's really moved up his game since they switched him to turf. He did look good winning that Grade 1 last time, Dan. I mean, there are a couple of those Godolphin Appleby horses that you have to concern yourself with in here, but up to the mark's the horse to beat.
Let's throw up the time form U.S. pace projector in this race. The number 2 Strong Quality's been on the lead in his last couple of races, and he's the kind of horse that can show speed. Time form U.S. does have Ocean Atlantique up there, and his best races have come when he's on the lead. I'm not sure how fast they're going to be going.
Yeah, I didn't think this pace was going to be that fast. I do think the number 9 could make the lead in here. That was not the case last time in that Turf Classic when they tried the Grade 1 with him. We'll see how much better he can do.
50-1 on the morning line for the number 1 So High, who was only beaten 2 lengths when easily outrunning his gigantic price in last year's Belmont Gold Cup. Since 2 years ago, that's right, it was 2 years ago, I'm not so high. His last race, he was 4th in a first level allowance race, and I don't know, Mike, I thought that this horse can show speed from the rail, and I think he's going to be a pace presence. The question is he good enough to take this quality cast all the way around?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that he is, but I agree with you. I think they are going to get aggressive with him early in this race and probably try to go forward. There's a race or two on the go back that would give him some kind of chance to hit the board.
Strong Quality was a horse that sold for $500,000 as a weanling. They obviously had high hopes, and he didn't pan out as a dirt horse, although he ran some solid races. They found what he wants to do, and that is be a middle distance turf horse. I think his races have been fairly impressive. I really liked his first level allowance win against weaker horses at Gulfstream. Last time out, they just let him get to the lead, and against that field, he was able to handle it.
Yeah, that was my issue with him too. I mean, he did look good winning that turf debut 2 starts back. He got a great trip in that race, but he still looked good winning, and then somehow had an even softer trip last time and won again.
Charlie Appleby has the next 2 entrants, the 3 Warren Point, the 4 Ottoman Fleet, both of course owned by Godolphin. Warren Point is a horse that's just nutty, I guess is the word best used to describe him. He's probably going to have a blindfold when he goes into the gate. He usually is a little bit washed out, and he seems like a very difficult horse to ride. He was odds on in the Man o' War last time out. He didn't break well. He made this early 4-wide move on the backstretch into contention, and he just couldn't sustain that run going 1 3/8 miles. He doesn't look like the biggest horse in the world. He's kind of a compact little fella. I don't mind him turning back to 1.25 miles. I like that Mullen is aboard because he seems like a difficult horse to ride, and Mullen rode him to a win in Bahrain, of all places, 3 starts back.
Yeah, a couple of races back in February on very short rest. He looked good to me running in both of those races. Even the loss, he took a tough beat that. I thought he ran really well. Listen, things didn't go great for him last time. All in all, I feel like it was a pretty good performance in his stateside debut. I don't know, Dan. I didn't really know what to do with him in here. There are no bad races on his card, and I recognize that he could improve again. I wonder if this is the right spot. Maybe it is.
He needs to behave. He gets a little bit nutty in the paddock and post-parade. Is he going to break? That's a big key, especially in a race with a nebulous pace scenario. Warren Point, however, I do think has some ability. I think he's going to be the better price of the 2 Godolphin train runners. I'd like him turning back to 1.25 miles. Ottoman Fleet's going to be the more fancy to the Godolphin duo. Why not? He looked good winning the Grade 2 Fort Marcy in his North American debut. He also got a very good ground-saving trip.
He got a really good trip in that race. I don't think you would consider that the strongest field in the world either, but he really ran in there. I mean, he always looked like he was going to run, and once they got him into position coming to the stretch there, he came right through on the inside, and he won that race for fun. I also really, to me, Dan, I just think this horse has gotten a lot better so far this year. His win 2 starts back at Newmarket, going 1 1/8 miles, he was super in there coming last to first.
I've always wanted Soldier Rising to be a good horse, and I'm not sure I should be giving up on him now because he's going to be a pretty good price. Now the concern is he's a real one-run closer, needs a lot of help up front in his races. I thought he ran just fine in the Joe Hirsch 3 starts back. He had a little bit of traffic trouble in that race, split some horses and finished evenly, but his Red Smith was a stinker. The Man of War was at least a step in the right direction, but that was a race where the pace fell apart, didn't it?
Yeah, it kind of did. I mean, even his Red Smith 2 back, I think you want to be a little lenient there. That race was dominated up front. He was way too far away from it. He did run fine. Listen, this is a horse who's been over here since the summer of his 3-year-old year. He's won 2 allowance races over here. That's it. He always shows up. He always runs well. Question for you in the Man of War last time. Wasn't he kind of running when that race was already over?
And I think that's kind of been the story of his career many times in grade stakes competition, where it looks like maybe visually better than it is on paper, because you're right, it looked like he was no match for Red Knight, who had kind of gone right by him.
Yeah.
Red Knight, I thought, got a decent enough trip in the Man of War. It's nice to see that he relaxed a little bit in his races, because he can be a tough horse to ride as well. But when Dettori moved with the European shipper, Red Knight just sort of followed him out, got to the outside, let those horses in front of him do the dirty work. But this horse is a hardy old campaigner. He's a square price on the tote, and I have no problems with him at 1.25 miles.
Yeah, I agree with all that stuff, Dan. I mean, I just think he's really logical in this race. I mean, there are some other good horses in here, so it's not like he doesn't have to show up with his really good race. But his really good race is actually really good, and I know that trip worked out last time when he became the Grade 1 winner, but he won that race easily.
Rock Emperor's a Grade 1 stakes winner. He's banked over $1 million. I was kind of surprised he showed up as a gelding in the Fort Marcy. I guess no one wants to breed to nice turf horses anymore. Rock Emperor ran okay against Ottoman Fleet in the Fort Marcy. Probably Ottoman Fleet had a better trip than he did. Maybe Rock Emperor needed the race off the layoff. I've just never been his biggest fan.
Me either. I mean, he is what he is, though. I mean, he shows up just about with the same race every single time. Sometimes it's good enough. Sometimes it's not. He's going to be a good price in this race.
Up to the Mark is the horse to beat based on what we've seen on turf from him thus far. Even in the loss, the Maker's Mark Mile was a race where there wasn't a ton of pace in there, but he was running on at the end, and he just got nipped for second by Modern Games, who's speaks for itself, his credentials. He looked good in the Turf Classic last time out. 4 wide bid on the turn, winner every step.
Yeah, he just came with a really strong run in that race. He improved again to become a Grade 1 winner. Now they got to go 1.25 miles with him, Dan. He's gotten really good since they switched him over to turf, and I won't be surprised when he steps up to a longer distance here and handles it. He's the horse to beat. He doesn't have to win this race.
Untitled earned a big giant buyer speed figure 3 starts back, going gate to wire on synthetic. Wonder if he's better on synthetic than turf, but he can get forwardly placed, and the race doesn't have a ton of pace.
Yeah, I mean, that's very fair. We'll see if he makes the lead in here and is able to back things down. I question whether he's really good enough to win a race like this one. If nothing else, Dan, he could provide some pace for his stablemate.
Chad Brown, Joel Rosario at a price. That's the number 10 highest honors, a horse that's really never panned out as a grade stakes horse, although he's earned some solid placings. I don't know, I thought if he was going to do it, it was going to be in the Red Smith 2 starts back, and he couldn't catch Astronaut.
Yeah, he had a great trip in that race. He was right up close, and that's where you needed to be that day, and he just wasn't quite good enough in there. I don't know, Dan. I've just never really liked this horse. I don't mind the 1.25 mile distance for him. I'm just not his biggest fan.
Top pick time for the Grade 1 Manhattan. You can go several different ways. We're both going with Godolphin, however. You're going with the Ottoman Fleet back-to-back.
Yeah, I like Ottoman Fleet. Again, I think this horse is really getting good right now. I like his last 2 starts. I think the 1.25 miles is fine for him.
I'm going with Warren Point. Again, this is a horse that has to behave himself in the preliminaries. He has to break well, but I do think there's some ability here. You talked about that race 2 starts back where he got beat. He got some traffic and he was running on at the end. I like him cutting back slightly in distance. The Manhattan usually does not disappoint. It's a top race for top turf horses, and the Belmont's coming up.